to Book Talks with Chloe, and today I'm going to be talking about a book entitled Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. And just a quick summary of the book. I won't go into too much detail. A boy named Jacob always hears these grand stories of his grandfather Abe's childhood, which, you know, after a while he stops believing it. You know, he grows up, he's like, yeah, sure, you lived with children who could float. And Abe dies in the woods one day. He's mauled, and Jacob goes and he swears he sees a monster, but you know, he's not believed. The police are like, no, you saw wolves. And so, you know, Jacob's kind of deemed crazy, and so he kind of uses this to let his parents allow him to go to Cairnholm Island, the coast of Wales. And he wants to go there because he figures out from a letter that he received in a book from his grandfather, a letter that his grandfather received, that that's where his childhood kind of home was, and he lived with a lady named Miss Peregrine and all these children. And so he goes there and he discovered that the house was actually burned down in the war when it was bombed in World War II, to be exact. But then he goes into the basement and he sees all these kids, and one of the girls can like light fire with her hands, and the other one can float. She has to wear heavy shoes so she doesn't float away. And you know, he learns more about these children. He figures out he's September 3rd, 1940, and that day keeps repeating and repeating, and this is called a loop, and Miss Peregrine is the one who can actually make the loop happen. And he learns that these children are peculiars, and they live this day over and over and over and over, because Miss Peregrine can control time. She's an inborn, and she is also able to turn into a peregrine falcon. And so Jacob lives a little bit. He goes home at night to the present with his father, and then he goes to the loop during the day, and so he's having this great life. This is kind of where it gets to a spoiler. So he learns about these monsters, which are whites and hollows, which is actually what killed his grandfather, and Jacob is a peculiar himself. Like his grandfather, they are the only ones who are able to see the hollows, which what our whites are before they become whites. They're hollows, then they eat peculiars and they're whites. So the kids fight them, Miss Peregrine gets captured, Jacob ends up leaving his parent because the loop doesn't reset, because Miss Peregrine is still in her little bird form, and so they have to find a new loop, and that's kind of where the book ends. It kind of leaves off a cliffhanger, and there is going to be a sequel, I believe. And one thing that the author did really well, and also really horribly all at the same time, was the relationships between the characters. All the children had a really great bond with Miss Peregrine, and I really liked that they respected her. She was a great mother bird to all of them. And then I also really liked Jacob's relationship with his grandfather. I thought that was a really strong bond, and he trusted him with everything, which is why he decided to stay with these children. But he had a horrible relationship with his parents and ended up leaving them in the end, and I just did not like that. Like, what kind of kid leaves his parents? Another relationship I deemed very inappropriate was the relationship between Emma, the fire girl, and Jacob, because Emma, when Jacob's grandfather had lived in the loop, him and Emma had like a little romantic relationship, and then when Jacob lives in the loop, him and Emma have a romantic relationship, and you know it's because Emma sees Abe and Jacob just really likes Emma, and it was weird. I didn't like it. But I really liked Abe's developed backstory. You know, you had a lot of information, you kind of picked it up as you went, you learned that he had kind of a parallel, and so he was hiding from the whites because he was peculiar, right? But he was also a Jewish boy who was hiding from the Nazis because he was Jewish. So he had these two like parallel situations. But the book overall was kind of a disappointment for me. High hopes were at the beginning. I didn't plan on Jacob finding the kids. I just thought he'd be looking for them and he'd kind of discover it on his own. He'd be looking through it, and I got really, really excited. And then, I don't know, the book got progressively great story building up in front. You're like, wow, the world's crazy, everything's going on. What is he gonna find, you know? And then it's like, no, we're just gonna give all the information to you here. But overall, if you like a little bit of mystery or information handed over to you, and you like a little bit of love, and you like a little bit of action, and you like a little bit of everything, this is the book for you. I personally am not going to read the sequel. I did not enjoy the book that much. I don't really care what happened. Thank you.